If you've ever searched for best steakhouse in Paris, you've probably seen l'Entrecôte pop up. Many say it's overrated, but then you see the long queues at all of them, so there must be something there. But here's the catch. There are 5 l'Entrecôte restaurants, run by 3 different companies. So which one should you actually go to? I've visited 3 of them, one from each company, and today I'm telling you which one is truly the best experience. The original concept is straightforward. A sirloin steak served with crispy French fries, a green salad topped with walnuts, and their legendary secret sauce. Interestingly, even though all these restaurants are called Entrecôte, which actually means ribeye, in reality what they serve you is sirloin. Le Relais de Venise Son Entrecôte was the very first to open back in 1959. Its founder, Paul Ginès de Sort, a winemaker, decided to diversify his income and came up with a simple formula. A classic French menu of salad, steak and fries, served with a special sauce for a reasonable price designed to draw in large crowds. He opened his restaurant at Porte-Maillot in the 17th arrondissement, and it's still there today. More than 60 years later, the success is still going strong, so don't be surprised if you have to queue to get a table. To keep his initial investment low, the founder simply kept the neon sign from the previous Italian restaurant, Relais de Venise, and just added Son Entrecôte. A thrifty choice, but a hugely successful one. The place is bursting with people, lively, but also incredibly noisy. I came with my daughter Charlotte, and we're going to be squeezed into this little corner. Lucky us! Charlotte asked for still and I wanted sparkling, but apparently half-liter bottles don't exist here. Quite surprising. First, the walnut salad arrives, quite basic, with a vinaigrette that tastes a bit industrial. Then comes the entrecôte. It's served rare, just as I asked, but the meat isn't as tender as I'd hoped. On the other hand, the French fries are absolutely delicious. It's Charlotte's first time at Le Relais de Venise, and unlike me, she's not a fan of the secret sauce. I think her issue comes from the secret ingredient in the sauce, anchovies. Not quite to her taste. Here, as in all l'Entrecôte restaurants, they bring a second service of both meat and fries. The menu, salad, steak and fries, with 2 servings of the last 2, comes to 30 euros. An acceptable price, but not a real bargain. It might be fine if everything went smoothly, but the restaurant was packed, the service rushed, and my steak too tough. The second restaurant is Le Relais de l'Entrecôte. In Paris, there are 3 under this name. Marbeuf, near the Champs-Élysées, Montparnasse, and this one in Saint-Germain, just 50 meters from Café de Flore. It's Sunday lunchtime, and the line stretches far out the door. If it weren't for you, dear viewers, I wouldn't have waited 30 minutes in that line. When the founder of Le Relais de Venise passed away in 1966, one of his daughters took over the original restaurant at Porte-Maillot. Another daughter adopted the name Le Relais de l'Entrecôte for her own group, which now includes 5 locations, 3 in Paris, 1 in Geneva, and 1 in Zurich. Although the descendants of Paul Ginès de Sort run their restaurants under slightly different names, they all stick faithfully to his original formula. So the recipe I'll be enjoying here is the same as at Le Relais de Venise. The question is, will the execution be better or worse? The walnut salad? Yep, the same basic version as last time. For the entrecôte, the meat is more tender, the sauce a bit more flavorful, but the fries are less exciting this time. One thing I have to mention, they use the exact same cutlery as at Le Relais de Venise, which is a disaster. The knife barely cuts. How they could think that works for a steak knife is beyond me. Of course, here too, they bring a second serving of both meats and fries. It was sweltering, so I treated myself to a lemon sorbet, spiked with a little vodka to make it go down easier. Well, a man's gotta survive the Parisian heat. I paid €1 less for the entrecôte than at Le Relais de Venise, and overall my experience, both food and service, was a bit better. Located just 30 meters from the Champs-Élysées, l'Entrecôte de Paris is a bit of a copycat. And with all due respect, they did copy the steak-frites salad formula from Le Relais de Venise, which by the way had itself copied it from Café de Paris in Geneva. But they came up here with their own version of the secret sauce. So it's a different secret as the original secret. I arrived early on a weekday, which spared me from the line. But don't be fooled, at busy times the queues can get pretty long here too. Ah, now that's what I call a proper steak knife. First, the salad. More walnuts, more dressing, probably industrial as well, but overall a bit more interesting than at the other two restaurants. Usually, if I'm mopping up the sauce, it's a good sign. Well, here, I definitely mopped it all up. Let's get the negative out of the way first. The fries here are obviously industrial and not as good as Le Relais de Venise. There, I said it. But for the rest, the steak, served rare as requested, is much better. And l'Entrecôte de Paris version of the sauce, a bit more mustardy, seems much tastier to me. Well, after all, to each his own. Also they say. €26.50 for the Entrecôte, cheaper than at the other two restaurants, even though for me, it's the better experience overall. The food is tastier and the service was excellent. My waiter was really friendly and efficient. When it comes to location, Le Relais de Venise may be close to Port-Maillot Metro and RER station on lines 1 and C, but it's really on the outskirts of Paris, right by the Boulevard Périphérique. I give it 13 out of 20. Le Relais de l'Entrecôte has 3 addresses, all well situated near metro stations in busy tourist areas, Montparnasse, Saint-Germain and the Champs-Élysées. That's a solid 17 out of 20. And l'Entrecôte de Paris? Barely 50 meters from exit 2 of Franklin D. Roosevelt Station, on lines 1 and 9. That's an 18 out of 20. As for the premises, Le Relais de Venise squeezes far too many tables into a small space, 12 out of 20. Le Relais de l'Entrecôte, on the other hand, feels less cramped, with nice terraces at Saint-Germain and Marbeuf, 15 out of 20. L'Entrecôte de Paris offers more room, but the decor is a bit dull, so I'll give it 13 out of 20. When it comes to the service, at Le Relais de Venise it was gentle but rushed, and the waiter didn't even tell us that the water would come in big bottles at a higher price, so I give it a 12 out of 20. At Le Relais de l'Entrecôte, both at Champs-Élysées and Saint-Germain, the waiter was smiling, but difficult to get hold of, which deserves 14 out of 20. Finally, at l'Entrecôte de Paris, the waiter was great, smiling and talkative, and that earns a solid 17 out of 20. Let's talk about the food now, starting with the salad. Honestly, at all 3 restaurants, there's nothing to get overly joyful about with these salads, but nothing to be sad about either. That said, the salad at l'Entrecôte de Paris had a sauce that I personally preferred, so while both Relais get a 13 out of 20, l'Entrecôte de Paris earns a slightly better 15 out of 20. I know, this is very subjective, but hey, this is my video, ain't it? What about the French fries? Well, here, the clear winner is Le Relais de Venise, with excellent fries that deserve a solid 18 out of 20. Le Relais de l'Entrecôte comes in a close second with 17 out of 20. At l'Entrecôte de Paris, the fries aren't bad, but they are clearly industrial, and that drags them down to a 13 out of 20. Now let's talk about the meat, the plat de résistance, as we say in France. At all 3 restaurants, it's sirloin on the menu, not ribeye. At Le Relais de Venise, it was cooked correctly, but turned out too tough, and the sauce felt a bit on the heavy side, so that's a 13 out of 20. Things improved slightly at Le Relais de l'Entrecôte, where both the meat and the sauce were a bit better, good enough for a solid 15 out of 20. But the real winner for me was l'Entrecôte de Paris. The meat was much more tender, and the mustardy sauce was exactly to my liking, so that's an 18 out of 20. So when it comes to price and value for money, Le Relais de Venise is the most expensive of the 3. With a food average of 14.7, it ends up with the weakest score here, just 12 out of 20. Le Relais de l'Entrecôte, with an average grade of 15 for the food and a price tag €1 cheaper, performs a bit better at 14 out of 20. And finally, l'Entrecôte de Paris, with a slightly higher food average of 15.3 and a price that's €2.50 less than Le Relais de l'Entrecôte, comes out on top with an excellent 16 out of 20. So here we are at the end of this comparative review. With a total grade of 13.3 out of 20, Le Relais de Venise sadly comes third. Le Relais de l'Entrecôte performs better, reaching a solid 15 out of 20. But the real winner today is l'Entrecôte de Paris, with a very respectable 15.7 out of 20. All 3 are fun experiences if you don't mind waiting in line, and they deliver well on that famous steak-frites salad formula. But if you really want to try one of the very best ribeye steaks in Paris, a real entrecôte, then you'll want to head over to L'Ami Pierre. I've already made a video about it, and you'll find a link here.